Welcome to Film Courage. This is episode 157. I'm Karen Warden.
I almost jumped in before you there, and I'm David Brennan.
Feel it.
Today's guest is actor Kevin Chapman. Kevin was a regular on the Showtime series Brotherhood. He's also had recurring roles on Lost, Rescue Me, and 24. His film credits include Ladder 49, Sunshine Cleaning, Black Dynamite, Mystic River, 21 Grams, Boondock Saints, and more.
Kevin currently portrays Detective Lionel Fusco on the CBS hit show Person of Interest. Person of Interest is the collaboration between Jonah Nolan, J.J. Abrams, Brian Burke, Greg Plagueman, and Richard Lewis.
Yeah, I like how you got the Jonah Nolan right there.
Yeah,
you know?
Or he goes by Jonathan. Jonah, yeah.
The Person of Interest centers on ex-CIA hitman and a scientist who team up to prevent crimes before they happen. Detective Lionel Fusco is a bad cop who gets a chance to make things right.
And special thanks to Wendy Shepard of StudioMatrix.com for arranging this interview. Make sure to follow her at Wendy Shepard. Please welcome to Film Courage via telephone, Mr. Kevin Chapman. Welcome, Kevin.
Hey, everybody. Hey, thanks for having me.
Hi, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. You know, and taking time out of your busy schedule. For more on Kevin, please check out his Facebook. He's on Facebook now. He's on IMDb. You can just take a look at that long list of credits. And he's on Twitter, POI Fusco. That's Fusco. And his website, kevinchapman.com.
Kevin, going back to your beginning of acting, you know, your career, looks like your IMDb credits start around 1998. Did you decide that, you know, you want to be an actor, you thought it'd be an exciting career, or was it something that was just at the core of who you are? It just, no matter what you did, the desire for it would not leave you alone?
Well, you know, I have to be truthfully honest with you. Acting found me. I didn't find it.
Okay.
And, you know, I grew up in public housing. My mom raised four of us by herself, and you know, where I lived, there wasn't a lot of guys who were going to be actors. You know, it was socially acceptable to hit a ball out of the park or to score a touchdown, but you know, go down to the corner and tell your buddies you want to be an actor or a tap dancer or you know, something that was out of the norm, and it just wasn't socially accepted. Mm-hmm. So, I guess you know, my interest in the arts was suppressed, I guess, at a very early age. Just, you know, to the fact that I wanted to fit in, you know. You come from a home where you don't have a dad and your mom's always working to put food on the table. So you just want to fit in somewhere. So the last thing you wanted to be was, you know, different from the rest of the group. So it was something that, you know, as I became an adult, it kind of came into my life, and I worked in a logistical capacity with a director by the name of Ted Demme, who has since passed on. But Teddy was a fabulous director. He directed Blow. He directed Who's the Man. He did Monument Ave, which was the film I worked with him on. Just a fabulous guy. He did Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence, and was also the creator of Yo MTV Raps. So I was working for the city of Boston. I was working for the mayor's office, and they were making this movie Monument Ave within the city of Boston, and I worked logistically with the director Ted and Dennis Leary, and Dennis and Ted were very close, and the two of them looked at me one day and they said, "Can you act?" And I said, "I think I'm intelligent enough to," you know. So they gave me the script for Monument Ave, and I went home and read it, and Ted said, "I want you to look at the role of Mickey Pat." So I read the film, read the script, and had lunch with them, him and Dennis, the next day, and I gave them my interpretation of the character. And they both looked at me and said, "Well, gee, we think we'd like for you to play this guy." So I was like, "Okay." And of course, you know, I was full of fear. Didn't know what I was doing, you know. I didn't know a close-up from, you know, a rake shot, from a two-shot. You know, I just had no idea what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And so once I was exposed to that first experience, I kind of got bit with the bug, and I began to take classes with, you know, various coaches in the Boston area, and then I started pursuing different projects. and I got casted in, Side of House Rules and In the Bedroom. What's the Worst Can Happen? I got cast in small roles in all these productions that were taking place in Boston where I lived.
Right.
And then I said to myself, if I'm really going to, advance in this industry, I'm going to need to develop a craft. So I quit my job, put everything I owned in the back of a U-Haul truck, and I drove to California. And I worked at the House of Blues at night as a doorman, and I studied acting during the day. And that, I went through that process for about 2 years until Clint Eastwood casted me in Mystic River.
So
that's pretty much how it all began.
Well, going back, that's an amazing story, and I just love that. And I'm wondering, going back to where you were raised, because I also grew up in public housing, and I know there's a lot of drama.
Right.
It's never a dull moment.
Right.
So did you take some of that, even though you hadn't taken acting in college, did you take some of those experiences and channel them into characters? Some of that high energy frustration that I'm sure a lot of people...
I think, first off, acting is about portraying life.
Mm-hmm.
In the way I looked at it was, I had a toolbox that was pretty full because I've led a pretty full life. I've come in contact with people from Yale to jail.
I like that.
I have these experiences with these various people that I'm able to draw from to develop these characters, and when selecting a project for myself, the thing I always look for is truth in a character, Mm-hmm. I try not to play things that are too far-fetched, unless we do something like we're just having fun, like something like Black Dynamite, where it's just a bunch of guys and a camera, and a good script and having fun, But anytime, like even with Lionel Fusco on Person of Interest, when I read the script, I look at it and I say to myself, is there a Lionel Fusco out there somewhere in the world? I believe that there is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what helps me make these selections with these characters. So I mean that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much my view on how you're able to take something from a page and craft it into something that's believable. You have to find the truth in it to make it believable. And I guess that's my process anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Going back to the decision, because here you are. I mean, you're thrust into this role. You're working, with Dennis Leary and Demi. And that's a great opportunity in front of you. But then still, you make the decision of like, what, I want to get into this craft, and this is something I want to explore. I want to see if I can do this for a living. And so, right at the beginning, you're in Boston, and New York is only a couple hours away, and yet you decide, I'm gonna just go all the way out to LA. Tell us about that decision about bypassing New York and going all the way to LA.
Well, I believe there's far more opportunity in Los Angeles than there is in New York. There is if you want to do theater, but if you want to do film and television, and that's my opinion. That's the beauty of this industry that we work in. It's all subjective.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I think and what works for me. It may not work for you. It may not work for the next person, but it's what works for me. And I felt that if I was going to work in film and television, I had to be in Los Angeles because I felt that is the hub of the industry. Even Person of Interest, I'm playing a New York detective. I was casted out of Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really the thing with me. I knew that I had to go where there was more opportunity. So that was pretty much, it was a pretty cut and dry decision for me.
You had the screen credit at that time, and you had the connections, the relationships from working on that project, and yet still coming to LA. I mean, you're in a new land, and you're starting from scratch. I mean, how were you going to stand out amongst all the other actors here? I mean, what was the plan and the strategy? Because you said you worked at night, and part of the plan was to study during the day, study acting. What else did you do? What else was part of your strategy in terms of to start working your way in?
There was no plan B. You know, there was no plan B. I'm a guy who, you know, I put it on 10 and pull the knob off. And that's the way I've always lived my life, whatever I'm doing. You know, I went to L.A. and I said, I'm going to be an actor. But there was never, well, if acting doesn't work out, maybe I'll do this. I mean, there was no plan B, and there never has been a plan B. You know, I feel that you have to follow your heart, you know? And it's like, you know, it's like if you go to a circus, for instance, not to get too, you know, not philosophical, but too, you know, kind of cliche. If you've ever gone to a circus and you've seen a guy in the trapeze, when the guy in the trapeze leaves that trapeze, he believes that the other individual on the other end is going to catch him. He puts all his trust in the fact that that individual on the other trapeze is going to catch him as he free falls in the air. And that's kind of my philosophy on life, you know. I kind of believe that if I believe something's going to happen, then I just go forward. And I'm not saying it always works out, but I don't think of, well, what if he doesn't catch me, you know. So I guess that's kind of my view on it.
Right. And even in having that belief about yourself and having, you know, said earlier that you've lived a very full life, do you ever doubt yourself as an actor? How confident are you in what you bring to the table? Is there ever a gnaw in your voice that says, I feel pretty confident. I mean, I've worked with some amazing directors. I mean, I've worked, you know, I mean, like my first big movie, I'm being directed by Clint Eastwood, and I'm sitting across the table from Sean Penn. Wow.
You know? Talk about getting thrown off the deep end of the pool, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, and it was funny because when we were doing Mr. Gorilla, you know, Clint said to me, you know, how do you feel, kid? And I looked at him. I said, come on, it's a home game, you know. And you know, I mean, that was a great experience. So that the bar being set so high, you know, working on that film. I mean, you know. And it was great because we went out. I mean, Sean was very gracious, you know, with me. You know, Lawrence Fishburne was gracious with me. Kevin Bacon, I'm still friends with to this day. You know, Tim Robbins. You know, I've just had an amazing experience on that film. And, you know, I was, you know, between, you know, Sean, Tim, Kevin, Fish, Masha Gay Hyde, and Laura Linney, I'm with about almost 200 years worth of acting experience. You know, that's leaving Clint out of the equation. You know, there's another 50 years there.
Right.
And you know, and it was great because every night after work, we all spent our time together. We did table reads on our own on Fridays. Sean would arrange a room at the hotel we were staying at, and we would have food delivered, and we would reread the script every Friday to find more beats for next week's work. You know. You know, because as you know, Clint is legendary for not giving a lot of takes. You know, and he's a guy. If you watch any of his films, a lot of his films, the story is told in the master. And I've had conversations with him about that. You know, I asked him specifically, you know, why he did so few takes, and he said, I've never seen anything in take 8 that he didn't see in take 2. You know, and he says, you know, I hire people who can do the job. You know. And then, you know, I asked about, you know, his stories being told in the master, and he said that's the way life is viewed. You know, he said you don't view life in close-ups. It's viewed in the wide. You know, so you know yourself. You're both filmmakers. You know that when you tell a story in the master, in a wide shot, you know you move along at a pretty rapid pace. It's when you start getting into the close-ups and you know, where things have a tendency to kind of bog down, you know. But he would do as a master, he'd do the reverse, and, you know, we'd be moving on. And, you know, it was a remarkable experience. It was an experience I'll look back on my life, you know. It was just amazing. But, you know, I worked with him, I worked with Tony Scott, I worked with Philip Noyce, DJ Caruso. I mean, I've worked with some really great, Jay Russell, some really great filmmakers. And that's what I get excited about. I get excited about working with filmmakers, Directors are the ones that excite me because they bring their different styles and their different philosophies on the art of acting, and I listen to that, and this business, it's the advice is, you take what you need, you leave the rest, and that's pretty much how I like to operate. I'm constantly mining, even on television, where it's very scripted, and you have all these approvals. You have to get the studio approval and the network approval, and because everybody wants to know that the story and everything's going in the right way. And it's hard to improv or go outside the lines on television. But, even I may do a take where I take it in a totally different direction, and then when they come back for the next take, I'll bring it back to the script. And what that will do is it will give me subtext in what I'm saying that's scripted. It will create it'll create different subtext in the line, which will help me move it in a different direction without diverting from what is scripted. So you just learn all these different things from all these different actors and different experiences, and I've been very blessed. I've been very blessed. I feel my next great role or my next great performance hasn't come yet. And I think when I feel like I got a handle on it, that's probably when I'll do something else, That's the thing that excites me about this business. You're only as good as the last film or the last television show that you did, Mm-hmm. You have to just keep mining and keep digging and keep fighting and keep stretching and growing, and that's what I try to do. I try, I'll study with anybody who tells me that they have something that is going to be useful to me and I can put in my toolbox to help make a better performance or a better actor or, a better scene, whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish.
Speaking of your experience with the directors you've worked with, Kevin, we have this question. Mm-hmm. We have this question in from Marty Lang. He wants to know, do you have any advice for new directors and how they should work with actors, and any tips or things that you can suggest?
Well, just have a vision. Have a vision. Like, walk on the set as a director, prepared, and just that's the best thing you can do. Clint Eastwood, for instance, I felt had a remarkable way of working. If the call time was 7:00, you were blocking at 7:05. You didn't come in and have your breakfast and get dressed, and there was none of that. You know what I mean? When you showed up on the set at 7:00, your car pulled up. There was a PA waiting for you. They opened your door. They said, "Good morning, Mr. Chapman. We'd like to bring you right down to the set, please." You'd get onto the set. Clint would block the scene. Okay, you're going to come through the door. You're going to come over here. You're going to pick up the drink. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Okay, guys. While the crew's lighting it, you're getting ready. Mm-hmm. When the crew's done lighting it, you're shooting. There's no hanging around. There's no, and when we did Mystic River, Clint was, I don't know, he was 70, 82 now? He's probably 75 years old. It was remarkable to see the energy that this guy had. I should be so blessed at 75 years old to have the energy. It's just, it was just unbelievable to see. What's he, like 82 now? He's still making movies, Mm-hmm. And you walk in there and his sets are professional. It's sufficient. It's just amazing. And there are a lot of directors like that. Tony Scott was another one. It's like he's got his team around him. And you go in there, bang, you block it. You do your thing, and then you go home. And that's the way it should be. There's nothing worse when you work with a director who he's in there and he or she is wishy-washy and, well, I don't know, what do you think about this? And maybe we can do it here. And, that just kind of takes the wind, at least out of my sails, You get up in the morning, you got today's work ahead of you. You want to get in there and you just want to tackle it, And so I think that's the biggest, attribute I think is a good director is just having a cohesive plan and knowing what you want to accomplish for the day and knowing what you're looking for from your actor. Now, because you're a writer or you're a director, it doesn't make everything that you direct or write the best it's ever. And there's got to be a collaborative process there. But you can't let the collaborative process bog down the entire process, which I've seen happen. I've worked with some big stars that, with a director, I almost felt was like scared to direct them. Because he was intimidated by their notoriety or their celebrity. And what happens there is that the process becomes bogged down a little bit. Because now that the actor has a position how he feels it should be. Of course, the writer has his vision that and then the next thing you know, the DP's chiming in, and it's like you get people just standing around looking at each other, trying to figure out the shot. And when that process happens, for me, and I can only speak for myself, it kind of takes the wind out of your sails.
So that director needs to own that leadership. They can't.
You need to own it. Right. You need to own it, but also you need to be prepared. You need to have a vision. You need to have a plan. And I think when you don't have that plan, it was actually I'm sitting in my car and there was a truck backing up next to me, and I apologize.
Oh, okay. No well, the sound is great, so that's good. Going back to what you said, Kevin, about you came to LA, you were a bouncer for a while at the House of Blues. We know so many talented people that they're still doing those jobs, and they are amazing. What is it that separates those who work in the industry and make their living from it and those who never become a working actor? They might have a few parts here and there, but...
Well, it was funny. I mean, I worked in a bar in Echo Park called Shortstop. Great little bar. Okay. I worked at that bar when I got Mystic River. I finished Mystic River. I went back to my job at the bar.
Wow.
And everyone was like, are you crazy? You just did a movie with, And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And then, you have to be a part of life. How can you portray life if you're not a part of it? When I'm not working, I have a friend who has an extra casting company for commercials. When I'm not working, I'll go do extra work on a commercial.
Oh, wow.
And people look at me and they go, hey, aren't you? I go, yeah, I'm the guy. Where's the craft service at? It's like, it's about experience. That's what this business is about. For me, I should say, that's what it's about for me, is about the experience. Is about the experience of being on the set and meeting different people and talking different ideas and exchanging different stories and exchanging, information and, because all that stuff goes right in my toolbox, and that's when, I can walk in there and somebody says to me, hey, can you play, yeah, sorry about that.
No
the cell phones. We can put a person on the moon, but we can't finish a cell phone conversation anywhere in the world. So, that's really what it's about for me,
So being in the midst of life and not sort of being, that just so removed from people that you kind of lose touch with reality type of thing.
Yeah, I just I've never played that. I've never played that, well, hey, I'm here and you're here type thing, which some people play in this business, It's like, I mean, hey, let's face it, we all have some level of an ego or we wouldn't be in the business.
Sure.
So there's some level of ego, but some people just, have a tendency to take it, people are more concerned about, who their publicist is and who, getting repped at CAA than they are worried about doing the work, Like, that's what I see anyway, it's just, and as I say, when I finished Mystic River, I went back, I was tending bar. Here I am. I just did this movie that, we knew it was going to make a lot of noise. It was a Dennis Lehane book directed by Clint Eastwood, starring, a bunch of movie stars, and we knew that when we made the film that it was going to be something special. But, here I am serving drinks, listening to these people talk about, I'm going into William Morris next week, and I'm going, and it's like, because you're good looking and you got six-pack abs and you wear the right hair gel, you think you should be at William Morris? How about working on the craft of acting, How about working at being a better actor as opposed to, being seen on the red carpet? And we all know that's part of the business, but as I say, I find in some experiences you have people that are so wrapped up into that thing,
sure,
that you lose focus of what really is important, and that's doing good work.
Sure.
That's for this actor anyway.
No, very true. I mean, yeah, we're all needy in some sense, or we wouldn't go into this business because there is a level of validation that we get. I'm wondering, what are you doing to drum up work, though? I mean, are you relying strictly on an agent or a manager, or are you doing your own legwork in between jobs?
Well, I mean, it's funny, Los Angeles, like Black Dynamite that's the beauty of this business. You never know who's watching you. You never know who's a fan, who's not a fan. Because it's art and it's all subjective. I've walked into auditions where people were like, oh, I love you and this, that, and the other thing. And then I walk into other auditions and they go, who are you and what have you done again?
Mm.
I got Black Dynamite, for instance, at the gym. Michael Jai White came up to me and he goes, hey, I wrote this, this great screenplay. I think it's very funny. I've been a fan of yours since Mystic River. I'd love for you to be in it. I'm like, sure. Here's my address. Drop the script by the house. I get out of the gym, I come home, I pull up to my house in L.A., there's this big, huge silver Hummer sitting in my driveway. I'm like, who's this? I walk in, Michael J. White's sitting in my living room, He's like, I got the script. And I read the script. I was like 15 pages in. I goes, this thing's hysterical. I'm in, I called my agent. I said, look, I don't know what they got for money. I don't know, I said, just make the deal. Just make the deal. I said, I know that they're, trying to piece this thing together. I said, it's funny. I want to do it. Make the deal. So I did it for virtually no money. Because I thought the material was fantastic. B, I was flattered the fact that he approached me just straight up. And that's, you don't have all the lawyers and the agents and the managers and that whole thing. It was just two guys talking, two guys who love what they do for a living, trying to make something that they thought was a good piece of material. And it was great. I thought, unfortunately I don't think that the studio that bought it, I honestly think they were a little scared of it. I thought that they thought that, I think maybe the studio, and I don't know, it's just pure speculation, so maybe I shouldn't comment on that, but I feel that movie should have had a bigger life than what it did, and we'll just leave it at that.
Well, a lot of people love that movie. I mean, that movie has cult status, I believe. That comes up quite a bit. Yeah. People love the film.
It's funny because when I go, I've been in, I was in Boondock Saints, which is like another cult film as well.
Yeah.
So it's funny when I go to like the supermarket with my wife or something, I'll be, checking out, and some young kid will be like, "Oh, Larry, man, I love Black Dynamite." That's pretty funny.
Kevin, we have a lot of actors who believe that it is the agent or manager who knows how to sell the actor and get the actor the work. In your career, I mean, you just told us a story how you get a role just from going to the gym. So how true is that in your experience in terms of you're getting all your work through because your agent or manager knows how to sell you?
You know what? The agents and the managers, I mean, I've had one agent and one manager since I've been in the business. My manager's Ellen Meyer and my agent Sue Wall and Harry Gohl. They were Gold Marshak. Now they're called TalentWorks. I laugh because not to be the actor comes on here and drops a lot of names, but Sean Penn. I got a lot of great advice from Sean Penn when we did Mystic River. As I said, we became movie buddies, is what I like to call it.
Mm-hmm.
We did Mystic River together, and then he called me and asked me to come do a scene with him in 21 Grams right after we did Mystic River, which I went down to Memphis and did. And, Sean has been in this business for, 30 plus years. His dad was in the business, and is probably one of the most intelligent human beings I've ever met in my entire life, for a man who has no formal education, as a man he's never gone to college in his life, and he can sit down with the heads of state and not only sustain the conversation, he'll carry the conversation. you know. And you know, he always said to me, you know, he said, changing agents is like changing seats in the Titanic. You know, he says when you're on the downslide of your business, you know, or you know, your career, you're just on the downslide of your career, you know. You know, my agent, my manager work very hard for me, but they also work very hard for a lot of other people as well. You know, I'm a firm believer that work brings work, and I feel that I continue to grow in this industry because I continue to work at my craft, and that's really it. You know, I try different things. I'll do short, you know. People come to me and they say, "Hey, we're doing this short. Would you?" If it's good material, I don't care what it is. I don't care who's making it. I don't care who's distributing it. I don't care what star is in it. You know, good material is good material. And if it's somebody with a camcorder in their backyard and they put a good script in front of me, well, then set up the camera and let's have at it. You know, because you know that person who's working with that camcorder in his yard is not always going to be in his yard with a camcorder. You know, one day that person is going to be on a set, and one day that person is going to be helming a movie somewhere. And he's going to say, "I remember you. You were the guy that came to me in my yard while I had my camcorder." You know, and that's the other thing I look at as well. You know, I heard a great story. Lawrence Fishburne told me a fabulous story. He said he was working on a movie one day, and he said this PA came to him and he said, "Hey, I got the script. I'd love for you to read it." And Lawrence Fishburne said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'd love to hear about it." He goes, "I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. You want one?" And the PA said, "You're going to get me a cup of coffee?" He said, "Yeah, I'm going to get one. Do you want one?" He said, "I'll get a cup of coffee. We'll come back. We'll sit on the sidewalk here and we'll talk about your movie." So he says, "Yeah." So Fish goes up and gets 2 cups of coffee, comes back, sits on the sidewalk, and listens to this kid's movie. Well, the PA was John Singleton. The movie was Boys in the Hood.
Oh, wow.
And there was a lot of people that they wanted before Lawrence Fishburne to play that role. And I won't get into the names, but you know, the obvious choices. And John Singleton said, "I won't make that movie without Lawrence Fishburne." All because he was kind to some PA and got him a cup of coffee, and he took 5 minutes to sit down and listen to this guy's dream. That's something that's always stuck with me and has resonated with me. You know, my stand-in rides in with me in the morning. You know, and we talk about the day, and we'll run lines, and you know, because I know maybe one day he's not always going to be a stand-in. You know, this is a business where for me, it's about elevating people. You know, it's not about telling you how much better I am than you. It's about how can I help you chase your dreams. You know, and I think that's important. That's important for me. When I speak, I always speak, you know, with my views. You know. Doesn't necessarily mean they're right or wrong. It's just what works for me. But anyway, yeah. So
this is film.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
No, we love it. We love. Yeah, we're loving this. This is rich conversation here. We are on the line with person of interest actor Kevin Chapman. He plays Detective Lionel Fusco on the CBS hit show, and you can connect with him on Twitter at POI Fusco.
Now, is it correct, Kevin, that you have no idea what will happen to your character on Person of Interest from week to week? And you say you like this. You like this uncertainty?
Yeah, I do. I embrace that. I like to take the journey with the character. It was like that. I was on another series prior to this called Brotherhood, which was very critically acclaimed. We won a Peabody Award. It was probably... as I like to call it, one of the best unwatched series ever made. But you know, that was kind of the same way on that show as well. You know, you never know from week to week, and I think a lot of shows like are kind of taking that approach. I know the guys. You know, we had some of the guys who worked on Sopranos on our show a couple of weeks ago. They were saying the same thing on Sopranos. You know, you'd sit around and you never know who was going to buy the farm on that episode, you know?
Is there
and I embrace that. I embrace that process because, as I said, you know, it keeps you on the journey with your character. You know?
And what's the standard day on the set like? What's the time frame that you're dealing with? Can you paint a picture?
Well, I mean, on television you work, you know, somewhere around a 13-hour day. And, in films you can work, as I say, you could work with a guy like Clint Eastwood where you work an 8-hour day, or you could work with a guy like Alejandro Gonzalez who likes to shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, and they're both great filmmakers in their own right. It's just different styles, But, television is usually, you figure it's a 13-hour day, roughly.
And
I've worked very few television shows that shot less than that,
And what goes into that day exactly, for the actors listening that just, want a better sense of the work that you're putting in each day? I mean, you say you drive the set with your stand-in, you're going back and forth with you're reading lines with him, and then once you arrive at the set, what happens from there?
Well, you come in, you'll go to your trailer, your costume will be hanging up, the size will be there. They'll knock on your door, ask if you'd like a cup of coffee, and they usually bring me a cup of coffee to my trailer, and I'll start my day. I'll start thinking about the choices I'm going to make. Just making sure for me, the thing is, knowing the lines inside out, upside down, because that gives you the freedom to dance, to kind of dance within the boundaries, but you can kind of dance to your own tune, For me, and as I say, it's only my process, I feel like it liberates me as an actor to really have a complete understanding of the dialogue. And sometimes I'll talk to the writers and ask them, what they were thinking when they wrote, a specific phrase or a specific scene, just to really, have a complete understanding of it, because I just feel that gives me so much freedom. So, I'll just kind of go through my day, then they'll take you down to hair and makeup, and they'll make you look pretty. And then they'll bring you over to the sound cart. They'll throw a wire on you, and you'll go in, you'll block the scene, and then they'll light it, and then you'll shoot it. That's pretty much the day. I mean,
and you do it over and over again.
And go right through the schedule for the day.
And folks like J.J. Abrams and Jonah Nolan are behind this one. The two of the creators. And how often are they on the set? I mean, are they heavily involved with this show, or are they?
Well, Jonah is. We have Jonah Nolan and Greg Plankman, who is our showrunner. Mm-hmm. Greg was also the showrunner on Cold Case. He's written on a bunch of great shows. He wrote an NYPD Blue. He's just a really great guy. And they have what they call the War Room in Los Angeles, which is where all the writers are. Some other shows, like I say, the show I worked on in Showtime, Brotherhood, we had Blake Masters and Henry Bromell. And Blake Masters was the creator, Henry Bromell was a showrunner. And they were on set all the time. And what they would do is they would alternate. So you constantly had the writers here. This is a little bit different. We have the writing staff is in Los Angeles, and what they do is they deploy, the writer who is the head writer on that specific episode out to New York, and they will stay for pre-production. They'll go over with the locations and stuff with the directors, and help with the local casting. And then they'll stay for about the first 5 days of the episode, and then they'll go back to Los Angeles, and then they'll send out another writer for whoever's doing the episode following the one that you're presently shooting. So it's a little bit different. You don't get to spend a lot of time with the writing staff. You kind of only see them when they're popping in to do their episode.
I read somewhere, Kevin, that you said about your character, Detective Fusco, that what's great about Lionel is he's not really corrupt by choice. He just sort of fell in with the wrong crowd, and now he's at the how did I end up here stage. But in every episode, he's coming back to the light. He's definitely redeemable. Why? Why is he redeemable?
Yeah, I mean, he's really... I think, well, you when I play characters, first of all, anytime, with any character, whether it's Lionel Fusco, any character I play, the first thing I never do is judge the character.
Okay.
Lionel could be a good guy doing bad things, or he could be a bad guy doing good things. That's up to the viewer. What the viewership think of Lionel, I look at that as none of my business. You know, I try to make a choice with Lionel that's going to affect people, whether it affects them in a positive light or a negative light. As I say, this is art, and it's all subjective. You know, but I try to affect them in some form or fashion. And if I do have an effect on people, then I'm doing my job. You know, of course, you always want to hear, you know, accolades of what a great performance you gave, and what, you know. But as I say, it's art, and you know, you're going to have, you know, 80% of the people are going to like it. There's always going to be that 20% they're going to go, you know, I wish he would have did it this way, or I wish, you know, Lionel was this way, or, you know. So I try to find keeps the truth in any of the characters that I ever play, and also to not judge them. I think when for me, when I judge a character, that's a recipe for disaster. But yeah, I mean, Lionel was a character that, and that's how I perceive him to be, a guy who just kind of fell in with the wrong crowd. You know, a guy who just, you know, wants to be accepted, and it fell into with Stills and all these other officers who were a little jaded, had a little bit of a jaded past, and you know, he just didn't want to be the odd man out. So when Reese, played by Jim Caviezel, turned the tables, Lionel's taking Jim Caviezel's character out to Oyster Bay to do away with him. And when Reese flips the tables on him, he says, "Lionel, I see the good in you. But he said, I'm going to give you an opportunity because I see the good in you. But if you ever hurt anyone again, I'll be the first one to kill you." And that's pretty much how the journey begins with Lionel and Reese.
And this is a pretty heavy question, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but do you think that character, because he's redeemable, gives other people hope that maybe if they've made mistakes in years prior that many people judge them for, that they can move on from that? Or is that, maybe I'm getting too heady here?
No, we all make mistakes, and that's why they got erasers on pencils. You know, you know what I mean? Everyone makes a mistake. You know, and it's not about where you've been; it's about where you're going.
Okay.
You know, and that's the way I've always kind of conducted my life. I mean, there are things in my life I wish I did different. I don't, you know. I'd really be interested to meet a man or woman who doesn't have, you know, something in their life that they wish they had made a different choice, you know. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it is what it is, you know. So yeah, I think everyone has a redeemable quality, you know.
Love it.
So that's, you know,
that's great.
That's pretty much how I play Lionel. I play him as a guy that, you know, his moral compass was a little off, and it needed to be calibrated, and you know, but whether or not he's a good cop doing bad things or a bad cop doing good things, that's up to the viewer.
Sure. Oh, we love it. Well, we've been speaking with actor Kevin Chapman. For more on Kevin, please check out his Facebook, IMDb, Twitter at POI Fusco, and his amazing personal website, kevinchapman.com. And also thanks to the incredible Wendy Shepard for arranging this interview. Check out her sites at studiomatrix.com and wendyshepard.com.
Kevin, we just want to thank you. You know,
this has been awesome.
This has been a really rich conversation.
Rich.
It's been great hearing about your backstory, your background, and also just how grounded you are.
Straightforward.
Straightforward and direct, and just, you know, I can see why so many filmmakers, you know, so many people have wanted to put you in their projects, you know, because you just want to roll up the sleeves and put in the work, and those are the kind of people you want to kind of surround yourself with. So we thank you for sharing that with us today here on Film Courage.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's been a pleasure to be on the show.
Oh, all right. You're very welcome. You know, and I can see why the audience likes him too. Yeah. You know, because they can relate to that.
Yeah, brings it to the screen. Yeah, we know you got a train to catch. Thank you,
Kevin.
Yes,
thank you. We'd also
thank you very much.
Yeah,
you got it.
Thank you. We'd also like to thank our guy, Ronan Rosner. He's the guy you seldom see or hear, but he plays a huge part in what we do here, and we thank you. And would you like to hear your project or business mentioned during one of our shows or displayed on our site? To advertise with filmcourage.com and our radio program, please inquire through filmcourage.com via our contact page.
Would you like to hear more Film Courage broadcasts?
Yes.
Well, they're available on filmcourage.com, latalkradio.com, and iTunes, so please make sure you subscribe. We'll be back here next Sunday on latalkradio.com. We're going to have filmmakers Steve James and Alex Kotlowitz.
Yeah, Steve and Alex recently won an Independent Spirit Award for their documentary, The Interrupters, about the fascinating stories of 3 violence interrupters who attempt to protect their Chicago communities from the violence they were once a part of.
And you may also know Steve James from one of our favorite films, the 94 documentary Hoop Dreams. And Alex from the best-selling book, There Are No Children Here, the story of 2 boys growing up in the other America. For more on Steve James and Alex Kotlowitz, please visit interrupters.cartimquinn.com.
And that does it for us, folks. Until next Sunday, have a great week.